Okay, welcome to the Meat Dudes. I'm Evan,
I'm Tyler.
and today we're joined by Brad Baich, the creator of Butcher Wizard YouTube, and where he teaches people how to break down large cuts of meat, save money, and cook better at home. And now, Brad, you are a classically trained chef, former butcher, been in the restaurant industry for years, just like us, and really built a great following by simplifying butchery for everyday cooks and showing people how to understand the animal, which leads to better meals, better value, and more confidence in the kitchen. And you are the author of the book Primal Cuts. How are you doing, Brad?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Anytime that we can get around and talk about some beef, I'm there. So
I I
let's do
love
it.
it, man. No, I love it. Been
Great.
watching a lot of your YouTube channel, man, and you really it's great to see you take these whole cuts of meat and show people how to break things down. Want to get into that today because that is a big thing in the meat industry, right? Meat costs a lot of money. The prices are rising, and you show people how to go to just the store and pick out the type of cut they want. That maybe it's not the Hollywood cuts, which we talk about all the time. Utilizing the entire animal, taking big cuts, breaking it down. You remind me a lot of Chef Tyler when we talk about meat all the time. I'm like, and this guy is right on the same page with us, man. So, how did you kind of get started in the meat industry, and what brought you kind of to create Butcher Wizard?
Yeah, so I've always been in the food industry. So ever
Mhm.
since I was 16 years old, I worked in a restaurant, and I fell in love with it and have done it ever since. So I've kind of come in and out of the industry as was my life changed. But I went to culinary school. I taught culinary school a little bit. Um, and then I became a stay-at-home dad where I have four kids. And then while I was a stay-at-home dad, I was kind of like, I really want to get back into teaching, but I couldn't quite get there to in the place that I lived, so I couldn't quite teach. But I wanted to teach on YouTube, so I was like, all right, I'll just throw some videos out there. We'll see what happens. And butchery was always my favorite thing to teach in culinary school, so that's where I started. And my eighth video ever went crazy on YouTube. I took a whole ribeye that I bought from Costco. I showed people how to cut it into ribeye steaks and how much money they would save. And that video went to 1 million views in 4 days.
Wow.
And yeah, it was a crazy, crazy experience. Completely caught off guard on everything. So of course, I just went and doubled down, and then we started doing tenderloins and strips and everything else you could get from Costco and showing people how to do that. And kind of 3 years later, the rest is kind of history. I have about 200 videos on YouTube, and yeah, 330,000 subscribers. So, man, it's been a crazy ride, and it's just I'm so thankful to get to connect with people about meat cutting because, I think in the industry we always think that everybody knows everything that we know, and the vast majority of people have no idea where their meat comes from or what cut it even comes from or how you can save money down the chain, uh, down the supply chain. So and that's my kind of thing of just trying to find those pieces in the supply chain in which the regular person can benefit by doing a little bit of work themselves, but it's really not that hard. That's the other thing, is like breaking down that wall of like, it's not that hard. You can figure it out.
It's true, man, and you really showcase that when you're breaking those things down, like even just the chuck roll, and you're cleaning the tenderloin, and yeah, breaking down the ribeye. People don't know how much money they can save by buying those larger cuts in bulk. So, dude, and we're utilizing the whole cow, and that's a big thing that Tyler and I talk about all the time. Is the number one thing, like you said, know where your meat comes from, and then how do we utilize it? Because we don't have to just be eating ribeyes all the time. There's so much more in this ginormous animal, and which you break down in your book Primal Cuts. So like what's like one of the single most undervalued cut you think in the entire cow right now, for jumping into this?
Yeah, so just jump into it. Like my favorite primal cut is the chuck. It's everything that comes out. All those secret butcher cuts in the chuck are amazing, and it takes a little bit of work to get them out. But again, chuck eyes, teres majors, flat irons, Denver steaks. Those are like everything out of the chuck is my jam. So
This guy's stealing my stick, man.
I'm good we have
I
the
know it.
same. I'm
I
good we
love
have
it.
the same. We're simpatico on this one. But yeah, man, it's
Totally, dude.
Those are the best way to save money because you get a very similar experience to other more expensive cuts, but for a much cheaper price. Even so much that whenever I do like whenever I do a chuck eye video, I get comments of people like saying like, "Oh no, shh, don't tell people because then I won't be able to find them or the price is going to go up."
Then it's going to get more expensive, right?
I know.
Yeah.
I think
You know-
one of the greatest things about the chuck roll also is its versatility in cooking style.
Mhm.
There's pan searers, there's grillers, there's roasters, there's braisers, there's grinders, there's like almost everything you can imagine that you would cook, you can get out of the chuck.
Absolutely.
It's got everything.
But you know, the secret may be out because so we talk to a lot of Wagyu ranchers all around the US. We're starting a Wagyu map to like showcase where you can purchase the best Wagyu all over the US. And so we're making videos for all these ranchers and I'm talking to all these people and I'm like, you know, we want to show people, want to help you sell the things that maybe are a little bit, you know, less well known. So you don't have to send us a bunch of ribeyes in New York's and they all say or Denver's because I don't have any problem selling Denver's. And I'm like, wow, like 6 years ago when me and Tyler started doing Wagyu and Butchery and, you know, in our butcher shop at least, the Zabuton Denver steak was like not a thing. Now it's a thing. And so many people, all the ranchers are like, no, I can sell the hell out of that. It's easy.
I can't keep them in the case.
That's awesome.
It's like
I was when the butcher shop was up and rolling, it's kind of in transition right now. But I was doing 4 to 5 chuck rolls a week and ordering like 3 whole Denvers just to have enough zabs for the week in the case. It was crazy.
Yeah,
It's not that good.
but it's great.
thing
It's a great steak. It is a great piece of meat, and I'm glad that it's getting its due. Actually, it's funny. Like the shop that I was working at, they they cut chuck eyes and they cut Denver steaks, but they like named it something different from they named it after a customer, and I can't for the life remember what it was, but it would be like Dave's steak, right? And it would have Dave's steak in the case because he was the one who come and he would order it all the time and say that's what I wanted, and now they can't keep them in stock because they're just like going through them all. But they just change, you know, it's just funny how different shops do different things to market their the different cuts. But I mean some of these little different cuts are really making like a foothold. I noticed in my local grocery store, even I do. So I'm in South Carolina, so we have in the Southeast we have Publix, and a lot of the Publix because they're kind of going down market. Everyone's going down market on the prices because they feel bad about like putting 30, you know, a tenderloin for $35 a pound. So now they have to go to some of these different cuts to be able to market them because no one's going to buy something that's $70 for a package of 2 tenderloins. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, so you're seeing more chuck eyes, you're seeing more Denver steaks, you're seeing these like different cuts that are a little less expensive, even in even the local grocery store.
Yeah, no, that's true. So you're in South Carolina. We're in Seattle, Washington here, and so it's funny to see the differences between the butchery styles, the names. Are there anything that you hear maybe from the West Coast that you're unfamiliar with, or you know, or did you name things on the East Coast that's different from the West Coast, vice versa?
No, I don't know if there's a lot of different names. I know like everything has got the like. You know, the teres major is, you know, a chuck or as a petite tender or petite filet or all these things. I know there's a lot of different ways to say the same muscle group, but again, I think most of it is pretty the same. The one thing I will say from the West Coast to the East Coast, the biggest thing I noticed was we can't get a tri-tip over here to save our lives. And I went to a conference in Salt Lake City, and I went to the Costco because they have the biggest Costco in the world or whatever, because it's a business center and a Costco center together, right? Yeah. And there were just a whole case full of tri-tips. I'm like, this is why we never see any over here. It's because they never make it to the East Coast. So that's one thing I can notice the difference between East and West Coast. But
well, if you didn't know, that's in Northern California.
Yep.
never will there be tri-tips available. They take them all.
Yeah, that's when you
That's
know.
like the staple of Northern California.
Yeah.
Like if
It's
you
not a
show up to
party.
a barbecue and you don't have a tri-tip, they send you home.
I know,
Yeah,
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 it's crazy because, and like I said, on East Coast we don't see any of them. Every once in a
yeah.
while, I'll see one pop up, but it's very rare.
You know, it's kind of like the West Coast brisket. Honestly,
Okay,
it's
yeah,
becoming like that popular where people are just slow smoking it, roasting it, and it's everywhere. It's like, oh man, and then a lot of the barbecue people we know are like, man, it's so much easier than doing brisket too, and people love it. So like, hey,
I,
let's go.
yeah. When I was doing the cookbook, so when I got to where I got to my tri-tip recipe,
Mhm.
I had to really search for one, and it was kind of like it, it. You can see in the picture if you ever, you guys will notice. Hopefully, no one else notices, but like it
Uh,
looks kind of jacked up, and it wasn't a whole tri-tip, or it wasn't a beautiful looking tri-tip. But I'm like, this is the only thing I could get to take a picture of, you know. So
Well,
again,
I love it.
it is wild. Like different areas of the country, different
Yeah.
things you can get. It's funny.
Yeah, no, totally. So where do you see most people like wasting the most money when they buy meat?
I think I do think when you are trying to just get the big three of like steak cuts, your
Hmm.
tenderloins, your strips, your ribeyes, I
Hmm.
think you're leaving a lot of money on the table. I understand that those are the three biggest steak cuts and that people love them. And
Hmm.
if you're doing a special occasion, you're doing something like that, um, to go ahead and get those. But again, those other things we're talking about, where the terrace major kind of eats like a tenderloin. I always bring those together. Chuck eye
Yeah.
is kind of like a ribeye.
Yeah.
The Denver steak, kind of like a New York strip a little bit. You know, those kind of, you can find some different substitutions. Even though I do like a good New York strip, you know,
Hmm.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to, my next video is going to be about a prime New York strip. And
Hmm.
I'm going to go ahead and cut those, you know, and show how to cut those. And some of the prices on like from the big cuts are really staying steady, while some of the other prices for the cut strips, cut ribeyes are really up and down. So it's
Oh,
interesting. But yeah, I would say look for those offcuts or those
yeah.
lesser known.
what are you guys spending on a strip steak out there? If you go to the store to order, a couple 10-ounce New York strip steaks for dinner, what do you pay a pound?
Yeah, so I would say for strips at the grocery store for like two cut ones,
Mhm.
it's probably looking more like $18 a pound, 16, 17, 18, something like that. And then ribeyes are upwards of 20, 24 per pound. So again, we can get a lot better pricing by just doing a little bit of cutting ourselves. But
Absolutely, 100%.
and that's kind of what I built my whole channel around
Cool.
is though that difference between, okay, I can get 12 or 4, 12 really good size ribeyes, but like I can get 14 ribeyes from a whole subprimal cut,
Yeah, for sure.
and just knock the socks off of the prices that you can get right now.
Hey,
100%. And think
yeah,
about a tenderloin like that, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
You go buy one whole, what, say 7-pound tenderloin for $100, or you can get cleaned up 4 steaks for $100,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, and again, it's not that hard to do it. I think that's the
So easy.
biggest jump to make for people is they think it's like really difficult. And again, as not to minimize like what butchers do, but we're picking the easiest things for the consumer to do. There
Right.
are like 1 million things that a butcher does to get value out of the beef, and it's like we're just picking the low hanging fruit for the consumer. That's easiest thing for them to do.
Sure.
So again, it's a great way. It's also a great little hobby. Like I've figured
Oh,
out like I have kind of have a little community going where I talk to different people, and it gets kind of addictive because you're like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and stick it to the grocery store here by getting my own stuff, cutting my own meat, and I don't have to just like take what the grocery store gives me. Because
Yeah.
like you'll find a lot of like, you know, now they're cutting steaks so thin. So like if you want to get a tenderloin, like I was saying at the at Publix, whatever, they're cutting those things so thin because again, no one's going to pay $70 if that's on the sticker, right?
Right.
But so it's just really hard to find a decent sized steak that you can get a good sear on, that you can still cook medium rare. I mean, that's a whole nother portion of cutting it yourself where it's like, okay, I can customize it anything I want to do.
Yeah. So
Brad,
what?
let me ask you this.
Okay, go
When you were
ahead.
in culinary school and you went to Butcher 101, what was the first piece of meat that your instructor taught you how to cut?
Interesting. So going back, I would think so. We started on so for meat butchery, we started with pork because it was cheaper.
Totally.
So
Totally. Easier
so
to make.
it was
Yeah.
just simply these basic skills of like portioning, taking silver skin off, cutting meat, different, cutting surface fat, things like that. And I will say in culinary school, one of my, no pun intended, the beefs with culinary school is they are such a breadth of knowledge. So you got to get to like, you're in there for 2 years, maybe, a year and a half, and you have to learn this whole wide breadth of restaurant cooking and you don't get to spend any time with any one subject.
Right.
So I will say that the most probably I actually learned was that I had my first job ever was as a in a fine dining restaurant, was a saute cook at our steakhouse. And I tell the story in my book, but it's like I came in on my off time to work the prep area. And that was when I saw this guy named Angel, and he was it was a fine dining prime steakhouse, and he would come and portion all the meat. So he would come and include all the tenderloins, strips, ribeyes, and that was kind of, the extent of it. But I watched him and I got to work with him. And that was when I first kind of like, okay, this is pretty cool because you can make literally something out of nothing.
Yeah.
And but anyway, when I went to culinary school, I'm like, okay, we're going to learn all this stuff. And it was kind of like learning a little bit about a lot of things instead of going deep.
Right.
Yeah, dude. It's crazy that, most steakhouses we go to are ribeyes, tenderloins, New York strips.
Yeah.
That's like the
Yeah.
only
That's
thing.
kind of,
It's
that's
so
kind of
wild.
the deal, when you go out, those are the most iconic and but you'll see, I will see the menus. I don't go to a lot of steakhouses to be
I know,
perfectly
right?
honest, because I feel like the steakhouse experience, like restaurant, is the easiest thing for the home cook to replicate.
Absolutely.
So as just a couple of different things you can do, learning cooking techniques, it's nothing much more than you're going to get at a steakhouse. But
Yeah.
like even at steakhouses, you look at the menus, they're offering some different cuts. But again, it's because all those prices are going up, so everyone's kind of going down
Yeah.
market on the cuts of meat.
No, it's true. It's true. So, what's a cut that looks intimidating but actually super easy to break down once you kind of understand it?
Yeah, I think the most complicated one that I do on my channel is the chuck roll.
Yeah.
And it's not really that complicated. It's just a matter of trying to teach someone without being there, how to find the chuck eyes, how to find the Denver steaks, and then how to make chuck roasts out of the rest of it and grind. And I really try to teach people about like, this is how a butcher shop would take this whole chuck roll down, and trying to market all the different cuts where if people you want more chuck roasts, you make more chuck roasts. If you, I know there's even a trend. This makes me cringe every time on social, but I'll see there's like people just taking the whole chuck roll and slicing it all into chuck steaks, like thin slices. And I'm like, Oh my goodness. A reaction video is coming out soon. I need to do one because
Yeah.
I'm like that when you get to the neck end like of that chuck and you try to cook it like a steak, that is gonna be a bad experience.
You're eating
So
meat bubble gum.
I know
Yeah.
it's just like this is like, oh man. I guess
No.
is it possible to chew it and swallow it? I guess it is, but that's not what we're trying to go for, like
Exactly.
That's what you call a $2 steak.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
And that's a
And
good
it's like, oh man. So there's just like each cut of meat has its own kind of like way you have to deal with it. And you can get a beautiful thing out of each cut of meat if you know just how to deal with it,
Yeah. No,
If you want me to be part of that reactionary video, you let me know.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it is because I keep seeing it. I keep seeing it. Like I'm just gonna cut this chuck roll like this. And it's like, oh
Yeah.
man.
No, so many
It makes
things
you
are
crazy.
in the bottom.
You can, but you don't have to, I guess. I
No,
don't know. You can do other things, but
because everything cooks differently too,
throw
That's
that in
right.
the crock pot and get it to shred, and then you got a beautiful thing that's just
You
like
can.
that's how that piece of meat was meant to be cooked. I don't know.
I know. I'll be honest, I'm not even the biggest fan of like the porterhouses and stuff like that because of how things cook differently. That I think somebody might have said that on the podcast a couple times ago, but I was like, I totally agree with that. I want to cook my steaks separately. The fillet's got to be different than the strip. It's gonna cook differently. It's gonna rest differently. I'm keeping it separate. That's my go-to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So when you look at a whole primal, what are you seeing that maybe the average consumer isn't?
I think I don't know. I just look at some of these cuts as just the ability for a regular person to be able to cut it and save money and get that, the versatility. So like
Yeah.
in a ribeye, for example, people love ribeyes, but again, that ribeye, if you get the whole primal, if you get the whole subprimal, you can do different things with it. You can, you have that chuck end, so that you have that end that has a little bit more marbling. Then it goes as it gets closer to the short loin. It's a little more lean, so you can deal with these in a different manner, and
Yeah.
you can get prime ribs. So I want to, I don't need to wait for prime ribs to go on sale. I can just cut a thicker ribeye, and that's a prime rib, which I'm amazed at the amount of people who don't kind of put those two together. They're like, okay, yeah, the
Mhm.
prime rib is a ribeye. So if we just a thick prime rib or a thick ribeye, then we have a prime rib. So
Yeah.
it's just kind of like I think the between the nomenclature between people just thinking they can't do it or they don't have the skills or supplies to do it, that is just it's accessible. It can be accessible, and as beef prices go up, it's like essential. I think it's going to be within the next 5 years. I think it's going to be essential knowledge that
Yeah.
people know how to just do these simple things that can make a big impact on their grocery budget.
Yeah. What are maybe like two or three things that the home butcher would need to get started to be able to take that whole subprimal of a ribeye and cut it down?
Yeah, so it's very simple. Basics is a big cutting board. So you may need a cutting board bigger than what you have because we don't want to like flopping around on the counter, and we want to make sure that it's long enough. The one I use is in my videos is like 20 by 15. So it's
Mhm.
not like huge that won't fit into a cabinet. And that seems to really work for ribeyes, strips, tenderloins, all those things that chuck rolls, everything that I do can fit on that cutting board. A couple of knives that are not even like you can work your way through this with like an 8-inch chef's knife. It is it's easier the longer knife that you have.
Yeah.
And again, because I really don't want people to like say, well, I don't have a knife, so I can't do it. But I have a 10-inch breaking knife that is really, really good. It's really cost effective. I designed one that was like one that I kind of modeled after what I saw in the butcher shop, which is like you're taking those things through hell, so you might as well. We don't need the the Japanese style. Like I have some of those, but that's for a different set of cooking. But like for this, like you just need a good stainless steel knife that you can just run through the ringer, right? And you don't have to worry about it. Keeping it sharp, but a 10-inch breaking knife is great. A 6-inch boning knife is great. Those are the two I probably use the most. And but again, it just doesn't take a lot. A good vacuum sealer, whether it's say like a food saver style, or a I've gotten into like a chamber vacuum sealer for the home use, which is great. But again, just a couple of things to cut put it on the cutting board, knives to cut it, and something to store it. And I think you got the basics of what you need for your home butcher shop.
On your way.
Grinder would be great. That's like extra, next level, like because you're going to grind all of the trim. Because again, everybody like with the butcher shop, that's how they make money. That's the biggest money maker is to grind the trim and sell it as ground beef. So you can do that too at home. So
yeah. So what would be maybe one butchery skill that somebody would you maybe teach somebody to get them started if they'd had to learn one thing?
Yeah, I think as far as knife skills go, I think being able to like remove silver skin is great because again, that's what takes a if you leave that on and try to cook a steak with it, it's going to be that chewy part you could never chew or you never can swallow. So I think being able to locate that and remove that in the best and most efficient way so you don't cut into the meat, I think that's a great skill to have. Just portioning different cuts of meat. So being able to make a vertical slice or horizontal slice that's straight. I think that's a hard thing for people to really, it takes practice because your eye is looking down at your hand at a different angle. So you kind of have to overcompensate. So making sure that is nice and straight. I think those are some basic skills that just take practice and people should take seriously and just practice.
I hate to tell people to work as fast as possible because that's as more dangerous as possible.
Yeah.
But if we are talking about bigger chunks of meat and somebody who does not quite have the skill set yet that you do, that meat's going to get warm-ish. And as it gets warm-ish, it's harder to control. It's starting to get all kind of wiggly and jiggly. So I always find like if I'm trying to teach somebody about that, if we can't all cut our steaks in the walk-in, right? To be able to have fridge space ready to be like, don't get frustrated, just settle yourself down, take a break, throw everything back in the fridge real quick, let it chill for a little while, clean up your area, get organized, and get back at it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big thing. And I think that maybe one thing that I kind of take for granted because I'm not, I'm doing it by video and not teaching anymore, like hands-on.
Right.
But like, keeping everything cold. And not to mention, I also used to teach sanitation. That was also one of my classes I taught. So keeping everything nice and cold. So we, keep all the bad bacteria and everything at bay. But like, it's all simple. Like you're saying, you just kind of see, okay, it's taking me a little longer. It's weird. It's floppy. Throw it back in the fridge, come back. It's great.
Totally.
Man, so this is kind of a question for both you guys. What do butchers understand about meat that chefs sometimes miss? Yeah, Brad, I'll have you go if you have one.
That's an interesting question. So what chefs miss, I think it depends on what restaurant you're at and what kind of like level of production you're at, because again, a lot of restaurants, if we're talking about restaurants holistically, a lot of them are getting convenience cuts or getting things pre-cut or just getting things we're getting things in the back door to cook and send out the front door. Yep. So I haven't been in the restaurants in a long time, in a little while, so it's like that was where it was going when I was still in restaurants. So, again, you don't have the ability to merchandise other cuts. So if you're not breaking down the actual cuts, so we can't merchandise it into different ways. If we're not breaking down whole tenderloins at a steakhouse, well, if you're at a steakhouse, you're like, okay, if you look at every appetizer at a steakhouse, they're using the tails, they're using the head cut or whatever, the trim. We're making carpaccio with it. We're making tournedos. We're making different kinds of different ways to merchandise the same, like the whole cut. Whereas if I'm just buying center cut tenderloins and that's what I'm cooking, then I don't have all that extra stuff to merchandise. So I know that may be one thing that the modern restaurant maybe not doing, is using some of those different trims, different cuts to like make different menu items.
Yeah. No,
Totally.
absolutely. I agree. And I agree with that. Yeah. You know, Chef Tyler always makes fun of me because I love steak bites. But you know, when you go to a restaurant, like usually I kind of notice that they'll use is it the chain from the tenderloin, and that's like they're like, because they're filet mignon steak bites, and I'm like, filet mignon steak bites, but like the muscle gets thinner as it goes, you know, as it widens out. So it's yeah, it's funny. You kind of utilizing that whole cut is something. Yeah, sometimes, you know, maybe people miss out on, but well, you know what? We're kind of on the quest of like finding the best cut out of the back end of the cow, especially we talk a lot about Wagyu beef, right? Like we love Wagyu. We talk to a lot of Wagyu ranchers. That's kind of been like our expertise and specialty lately. And so the Wagyu cow, you know, the beef in general has probably more cuts than conventional beef. And so is there anything maybe in the back end of the cow that you've noticed that you've cooked up and been like, hey, a lot of people don't know about this, or this has been a lot more tender since I've done it this way or butchered it a certain way? We're always kind of looking for that crazy cut that nobody's looking for.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult or different because you know, I know like as far as Wagyu goes, but like the flap meat, kind of like that. I've seen that at like a Costco. I think it's that probably at Costco, and I think those are really good because it gives you like that. It's kind of like the best of both worlds of a thin skirt kind of flanky steak, but also it's thick enough that it can be, you know, it can also be sliced and do other things with it. You know, I guess the tri-tip's probably not what you're talking about because that's not secret. But like, you know, I love to make beef jerky. I know that's kind of like the typical, like what you do with the round cuts, but like I will, you know, I always make sure I got some of that going. You know, there's just some different ways you can use those different cuts. But so
yeah, I know that
it's a tough one. It's a tough question.
It is.
And for us being the Wagyu nerds, there's way more stakeable items out of an animal when it's Wagyu than it is conventional beef. Straight up.
It's wild.
No doubt. We've tested it all. I will put a Wagyu top sirloin in front of you and cook it like a tenderloin, and you will think it's a tenderloin.
Yes.
I swear to God, you'll be like, oh my God, this is the best tenderloin I've ever had. And, you know, that's top sirloin. They get down into like culotte picanha, top sirloin cap. God, there's even some of the pieces on the leg that are steakable. It's insane. But it's a tough question, and as trying to teach people basic butchery, you kind of don't go to the back,
Yeah,
because it's so hard.
well,
It takes so much more skill.
I kind of ask you guys about when it goes to Wagyu, like, you know, it's just so hard because like I just have like things you can buy online, and it's basically just like, especially with Wagyu stuff, it's just the cuts that you would know about, strips, ribeyes, you know, things like that. You occasionally see like a Delmonico or a Terrace Major or something like that, but like, what happens to the back end of the Wagyu cow? Like, where does that all go?
Yeah. Well, I think like first of all, there's such a spectrum of Wagyu. Like
Yeah.
you know, some people think Wagyu they maybe haven't had it before. There's like, oh, it's the A5 that from Japan. It's just super white, pink meat, a little bit of meat in there, and that you don't see a lot of the other cuts here in the United States that are you know from the A5. But there's so many American ranchers that are raising full blood Wagyu here, F1 cross, which is like 50% Wagyu, 50% generally like an Angus cross. And so that is all steak, like that. All that stuff looks more like a conventional cow, but just more like a super
Ultra
prime,
prime.
yeah, like an ultra prime, you know. So you can still cook all that stuff basically the same as you would a conventional cow. It cooks a little bit differently, and we're showing people on YouTube now how to do all that stuff. But if you're talking about the cow like the A5, like crazy stuff from Japan, then you know I think a lot we got to ask this question a lot too. Like we've seen people have smoked a whole A5 brisket, you know, but most of it I think it just is thinly sliced, and you know used
It's
for
all
like
thin
shabu shabu
sliced.
and
It's
things
like
like that.
shabu shabu and
Yeah,
Yeah.
hot
just
pot kind
yeah,
of stuff like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
It's just
we're
it's just
cooking up.
interesting because you
Oh yeah, go ahead.
go ahead. No, you're fine.
Oh no, I was gonna say. So we you know we're cooking up like back end of the cow right now. Like we just did. What do we do? We braised a whole a rump
Rump
roast from
roast.
Firegrass Wagyu out of Kansas, and so we're just kind of trying to see how this American Wagyu cooks up differently, you know. And God, we cooked up this pot roast that was this from that rump roast, which is just so good. And this was a F1 cross 50-50 Wagyu and Angus mix, and it was just super tender, marbled throughout, just like unbelievable. You know, you wouldn't think that like a pot roast would be that just luscious. And yeah, it's pretty cool. It's like super elevated, man. It was Tyler did a good job, but yeah, we're you know
We
there's oh
shoot, we
go
got another piece that we cooked last week, and it
bro.
was like a 3 inch cut, just slice out of the middle of a chuck. So there was
Yeah,
like
it
it
was.
looked like there was a chunk of flat iron on it, some a Denver piece on it. Like it was just insane. It was like I was like I could take this all apart, or and it was full blood. So I just braised it and made like a super banging ragu out of it. And it was like putting chapstick on. It was like it was so like
Mm,
creamy and luscious and gelatinous, and it was insane.
That's awesome.
oh,
But
yeah.
out of the chuck, like a full blood chuck, oh, insane. So
Yeah.
good.
It's just basically like for people who don't really know a lot of it with American Wagyu, it's 100% full blood. A lot of it around here is 100% full blood. That means the genetics are 100%. That means they've been can be traced back to the Japanese cattle that came over in the 90s. And so, you know, when you're raising it in the United States, it comes out like looking just super ultra prime, and it's amazing, but it's also steakable. Like it looks like a steak. It looks like a something you'd get at the store and you just blow your socks off. Like, oh my God, this is the most amazing marbled steak I've ever seen. And it's gonna cook just like a steak. So it's not always that A5, you know, where you just gotta sear it on each side and eat it, and you know, it's like a little steak experience. No, like we're talking about like big old 16-ounce ribeyes and you know flat irons and teres majors and everything that we've been cooking up. So and it just looks crazy prime. Like it's awesome. It's
So
just
nice.
amazing.
Yeah. That's awesome
Dude,
because I know like
we love.
I know there's even some people popping up in my area who are doing American Wagyu, and it's like it's just so hard to if you don't know, you don't know. You know what I'm saying? That's why when I heard you
Totally.
guys are doing some, kind of a map. That's going to be awesome
Yeah.
because everyone's going to get to kind of like not only support their local, rancher, but also
Mhm.
get a better quality product. So that's awesome.
Totally.
Yeah. And if you,
Totally.
it's like that's like there's just so much negativity and in beef in general, in the beef world in general. But then with Wagyu, there's just so much more just misconceptions and things like that. So hopefully, like that's why we're kind of doing it, is just to get it where people can actually order this beef, know that it's verified, and then know how to cook it and not be scared of it. And it's just kind of like what you're doing, right? Like don't be scared of this chuck roll. Don't be scared of cleaning a tenderloin, and people will, hopefully we can get more value out of it because they'll be less intimidated by how to cook it or how to butcher it.
I always tell people that even if you mess it up, you still have dinner. So you
True.
still
One way or
Still
another,
got
it's
good,
still going to be usable.
so
you still got good meat. Still got good meat. Hey, here's a question for you, Brad. I got this. This is sometimes a pain in the butt for people, but what's the smartest way to store and freeze meat if you are buying it in bulk?
yeah. So I am a big proponent of vacuum sealing. It's the best way to store it for the most amount of time. Even going back one more step. I get this question a lot of like when you buy like the whole subprimal and it's in that package, you can leave it in that package. People don't know you can leave that package for quite a while. It is wet aging as it's traveling. Like that's kind of the system that is happening. So
Boy.
you can leave that leave that package in your fridge as long as you don't cut it open. It'll stay for a good period of time, maybe a month.
Yep.
In a steakhouse, we kept them there for a long time. We stacked them up, and as long as we were running through them. But but then okay, when after I cut it, I put it back in a vacuum seal, and that's going to give you the most time. And a lot of times I won't even freeze them. I'll just put them I'll just vacuum seal and put them in the fridge. They will last another 4 weeks at least. I haven't done the actual time, because I'm using stuff a lot for my videos and things. So, but again, if you want to freeze that vacuum seal, you're a year, 2 years in the freezer, because all that does is taking out that oxygen. And once you take out the oxygen, that's what causes freezer burn and degradation of the meat itself. So, you get a lot more time with that vacuum seal. That's my biggest tip.
Yeah,
Totally.
that's a great tip, man. Because it does scare people to be like, whoa, like this was shipped or processed on the first, and it's the 20th. Like that's 20 days. This is spoiled. But like, no, I
No,
mean, you got to think
beef.
it's something that's being shipped all over the U.S. And it's not always frozen. So,
And
yeah,
it kind
that's
of gives you an advantage when you buy. So when you buy it at the grocery store in the the styrofoam and cellophane, right? Um,
yeah,
you don't really know how old it is, like how long it's been outside of that cryovac pack. So when you do it yourself, you know exactly when you pulled it out of there and when you reanimated it. Um,
yeah,
so it it gives you a lot of control. And that's another thing that we're talking about when you're cutting your own meat is like
yeah.
I have, customization, I have control of when it was cut, how it was handled, everything. So, it's a better way all around in my opinion.
Yeah.
For sure.
No, that's great. I mean, yeah, you just never want to buy that meat from the grocery store that's on sale because you never
Yeah.
know. You're like, wait a second, why is this on
That
sale?
best to use by date is not always accurate.
Price
No.
to sell, right? That's the mistake.
Right?
Price to sell.
Half off,
Price test.
half chance
Yeah,
you're gonna get sick.
I know, right? The buy one get one freeze. I'm like, but why? Oh my gosh, dude. So, Brad, do you think most people mess up more in how they cook meat or how they buy it?
Wow, that's a good question. I think for the most part, it's how I think it's how you buy it. I really do because I think that's like you have a lot of control on what kind of cut you're looking for. And again, I've talked about this too. Like that's where when you can go to an actual butcher shop and talk to a knowledgeable person because also helps because you buy the right thing for the right recipe you're trying to make or the right dish you're trying to make. And I think if anything, that's one of the unsung things about the butcher shop, about going to an actual butcher shop, if you can find one, where you can ask them, like, hey, this is what I'm trying to make. It
Mhm.
because there's all kinds of crazy recipes on the internet, right?
Yeah,
Everywhere you look, there's all kinds of crazy recipes. And you ask the butcher, like, hey, I'm trying to do this recipe. They can look at it and like, okay, that's a braising recipe. So we're not going to waste money on a tenderloin or something like that. We're going to give
yeah,
you more of a braisable option that's going to be more cost effective. So I
yeah,
think that's where you can maximize your savings the most is making sure you're buying the right meat for the right thing.
yeah,
And then, how to cook it, that is a chance to mess it up. But I think for most people, we can kind of like work our way through it. People know how I like my steak cooked. So we can kind of like use thermometers. We can use built-in, the probe thermometers that just give you a notification on your phone when it's done. I mean, so there's a little bit easier ways to fix the cooking issue. And I think the buying issue is where if you buy the wrong piece of meat, you're either going to overpay or you're not going to get the result you're looking for.
Absolutely right.
Oh man, yeah. When people ask us, when we have our butcher shop, if they ask us for like a whole tenderloin, like we're like, heck yeah, let's go, man. Like here, take it, please, take it off our
Take
hands.
the whole thing.
Take the whole
Save me
thing,
some work.
right? And we're gonna make a little bit of money, but you're gonna get it for great value. And that's what I love that if you walk into a butcher shop and ask them, hey, can you order a chuck roll for me? Can you order this for me? Because then we love like supporting those butcher shops because generally they know where their meat comes from. And that's like one of our big things, right? Like know where your meat comes from. And you can ask that butcher, hey, where does this come from? Is it local? How do they feed their cattle? What's their ranching philosophy? You can get into all that stuff if you're really into that. And then you can get a nice chuck roll and bring it home and watch one of your videos and chop it all up and have some great stuff.
And if they don't know those answers, if you ask your butcher where's this ranch located? They're like, it's the cow farm up the street. Like, cool, I'll see you later. I'm gonna go down the street to the next guy.
That's what we're pretty big on that. Like just knowing it makes a big difference knowing, because there is a lot of great beef out there, and there's a lot of, okay beef out there that maybe you don't want to eat because we don't know where it's been raised or where it's been throughout its entire life. So that's always something that we're looking for.
Absolutely.
Dude, I love it. So if you had to take a cut and grill it up, because we're getting into grilling season here, what is Brad, the Butcher Wizard, what is he cooking up?
All right, so it depends. I guess it depends on the situation. But what I've been doing recently, is the flat iron steak has been my go-to, like throw on the grill. I really like the flat iron steaks. They are actually becoming more and more available. Like I know at my local Costco, they got a 2-pack of flat iron steaks, and they're at the regular grocery stores. They may be called like, I noticed my Publix has top blades. So, and I have a video on that where you can take the top blade and make 2 flat irons out of it. And, so it's just kind of like, that's been my favorite cut right now. I do love a good New York strip. If I'm going, that's my favorite, like premium steak cut. I think I always say it has like a little bit of character. It's like it's seen some things. It's leaner than a ribeye, but more, but has more flavor than a tenderloin. So that's kind of where I put it in the middle. So if I'm going like special, I go New York strip. If I'm going like everyday meal, it's a flat iron steak for sure.
Hey, when you're buying those flat irons at Costco, you say there's 2 packs. Are those seamed out?
Yeah, it's just a whole ready to go. And that's been a relatively new thing at my Costco. And it's they're you pull them out and they're ready to go. They're trimmed up and everything. So
nice.
Yeah, and it's like $10 a pound at my place. So at my Costco, so $9.99 or something like that. So so it's a good deal. And but you can find them a lot of places. But that's been one thing that I've been doing recently.
I'm with you, buddy. I love a flat iron. I love flat iron.
Again, the Chuck. Here we go.
There we go. Chuck guys. We should just start a club. We're in the Chuck Club.
That's right.
Club, yeah, dude. We can make shirts. Dude, but the flat iron to me, like, is one of those, when you see it in Wagyu, it, like, doesn't matter if it's a F1 cross or a full blood. It looks so marbled. It's one of those ones I'm like, where did this come from? It looks insane. And so that's one of our favorite ones that we sell a lot at our butcher shop. If we have Wagyu flat irons, like, they start rolling, especially because Chef Tyler tells everybody that they're the second most tender cut on the animal. And everyone's like, oh man, and it's probably more affordable than like a conventional tenderloin. Like a Wagyu flat iron is usually more, a little bit more affordable. So that's always something we kind of like to compare to.
Another thing I tell everybody is that in my immediate family, which I don't get to cook for very often because they live in Idaho and Montana. But when we are all together, they're always like, "Yeah, let's do tenderloins." And I was like, "Okay, fine. You want tenderloins, whatever, whatever." And I'm like, my mom and dad will probably eat a medium. I'm gonna eat it mid rare, rare, mid rare. And my sister and her whole family are like, "Oh, well done." I'm like, "We're not fucking having tenderloin. We're
Yeah.
not. We're gonna have flat iron
Butterfly.
because you can cook the bejesus out of a flat iron. It's still gonna be flavorful and it's still gonna be tender, even if you cook it well done." So
Oh,
that's
yeah.
kind of my like. If you have family members that are so uh, resistant to properly cooked meat, then you always get. I always bring the flat iron to the table.
Absolutely.
Yes, dude.
I can only imagine. I love the choice tender or the choice flat irons. I can only imagine what the Wagyu ones are like.
Oh boy, it's nuts. It's nuts.
Nuts. Hey, what's your stance on resting meat? Because we've had a little bit of people. We've had some people say you always got to rest meat, and lately we've heard people say you don't rest your meat. So where do you kind of fall there?
No, I guess I would be in the resting category. Just to kind of let it hang out. You know, you're
Yeah.
pulling it off of the you're pulling it off of the high heat, and you know I'm kind of in that camp. I did do a video on steak myths where that was one of the myths that we that I talked about. So I talked about different ways to season, cook, different things, but resting was one of them, and it did seem that the taste from something that was rested for a steak that was rested just for 5 minutes and the texture was better in my mind than not rested. So again,
Yeah.
I say that and then I think I did my last video I did teres maters. I cut it too quick. And then I was like, man, this is good. And I was got to go and I cut it quick and it was still good. So I think you're still good either way. But
Wow.
if we're splitting hairs, I'm probably more on the rested camp.
Yeah, we are. I think we are
With
too.
with you.
We
I'm
are too.
I'm
But we,
still standing on the mountaintop saying, "Rest your meat."
Yeah.
you know,
Telling
it's
it
like
scientifically proven different. You know, if
well,
Alton
even just
Brown calls me and says, "I want to have a conversation with you," I'm like, "All right, I'll listen."
even just
There's
visually
just
when
some
you cut
things
it.
that are like that's the way that I do it. You know, like that's the only thing that was changed with that video with the steak mess
Yeah,
was the dry. I hate to call it dry brining because I don't think brine is the right word, but
Okay.
where you pre-season the steak and let it sit overnight. That really that did change my mind because again, coming from a restaurant background, you don't pre-season and set out meat at all these different you don't do that. Someone orders it, you put it down, and you cook it, right?
Yeah.
So that's the one that I was converted on was the seasoning and letting it sit open air in the refrigerator overnight really,
Wow.
really dried out that surface without drying out the middle. And I think that was one of the, if I would have to say one myth that was like, I've changed in the last year or so, it's been that one.
Yeah.
I'm a
That would.
slow adopter to some of these things because I just like, this is the way I do stuff.
that
I know.
method for me is only if I'm gonna do a long roast or a smoke,
Okay.
right? Like I wouldn't necessarily dry brine, if you will, if I'm gonna do like steaks the next day. That's just season it, grill it, season it, sear it, season it, whatever. But if I'm gonna do like a big piece of meat,
Yeah.
or even like a whole tri-tip, I'll definitely rub it overnight and try to form some of that pellicle, kind of take some of the moisture out of the fat cap and all that kind of thing. That way the cap gets super crusty. But yeah, I'm with you. There are certain things I would not even imagine to dry brine overnight.
I love it.
It's just funny. It's like I think the internet too, videos like YouTube, everyone's just taking every little thing, every little step, right, and trying to make it different. It's not even trying to maximize it, just kind of making it different or a twist or something like that. And there's still the tried and true methods for a reason.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Because it works.
Hey,
It's worked for a
speaking.
long time.
Okay.
And cooking for one person, one steak is different than cooking for a family of 4, a family of 6, a restaurant of 100. It's all like, it's, I don't know, it's all different.
Yeah. Yeah. So speaking of YouTube and videos, what are some of the like comments that you generally get from people when you post some butchery stuff? Are there just people, the crazy people out there? What are they saying? Like, what's like the stream of comments that you generally receive?
The YouTube comment section is wild. It is a crazy, crazy place.
Yeah.
Um, I get more. So when I post a video in the first couple of days, I get the genuine comments, like
Yeah.
the genuine people want to have a question, or
Mhm.
they need to know an answer, something like that, like, and or just thank you for doing this, and those are great. After about that first couple of days, then you start getting into some of the different comments,
Yeah.
and
Different.
it just depends on how big the video goes too,
Yeah.
because
Oh, for sure.
once, like, I've had videos that have kind of broken out of the normal, like, because YouTube will, not to get too much in the YouTube weeds, but like they'll send it to your core audience first, then they'll go out a ring, then they'll go out a ring, and then if it continues to get views and stuff, then, or watch time, people like it, then it'll
Yeah.
go out to the broad audience, and that's where you get people who are like, you know, I've gotten some that have like been vegan people who are like, why would you do this? And it's like, well, why are you watching a steak video? And like,
Trolling.
so there's a lot of those. There's a lot of like, just, you get weird, funny comments. Like, so I'm just kind of sitting, I don't know if you can see it, but I'm sitting where I do my videos. I got people commenting on my kitchen. We recently, like, before I started videos, they're like, no, they're like usually positive comments
Oh,
on my
that's cool.
kitchen, but like, yeah. So, there'll be all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
know.
I had the glove gate. So, in a few videos I had gloves on, and most of my videos I don't have gloves on, and that's also an issue for some people, because I'm in my kitchen, I'm doing it for me, so I don't like to wear gloves. But like, if
Yeah.
my hands are all jacked up, like, I played football in high school. I've been 20 years in the restaurant industry. My hands are jacked up. So, sometimes when I'm doing close-ups, I'm kind of like, this is not looking that great. So I'll put some gloves on. And
Yeah.
but so I'm very intermittent with it, but like, and that'll cause some comments. You never know. Like, people are crazy. But
I know.
This is
We did a
great.
wood
video.
cutting boards, I love wood cutting boards, and everyone's got a problem with wood cutting boards. I don't know. So you know, people are
It's so
crazy.
funny, man.
When you reach enough people, you get to crazy people.
Yeah, you do.
That's a good
I
thing,
love.
though.
Yeah,
Hey,
you're doing it
I'm
well.
here for everybody.
It was during COVID, we ordered some A5 Wagyu, and Tyler was cutting these big strips, and he wasn't wearing a glove, and it went so viral because people were like, "Oh my God, you're not wearing a glove and you're cutting this meat." Like, it was insane. There was just like thousands of comments about him not wearing a glove. Like, dude, we're just cutting a piece of A5. We're
It
gonna
wasn't
eat
like
it.
I
Like,
was like going like this, like I was, yeah.
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just it. Yeah.
It's funny though, yeah. I just wanted to kind of see what the normal people are saying, like, like, oh, it seems like you make it approachable. Do most people think that like, I could actually do this? Like, do you see that a lot in the comments, that like people are pretty positive genuinely?
Yeah, I
That's
think,
cool.
like I said, most people are positive
Good.
about trying it, or that's interesting, or I get a lot of people, I'm sure, that just watch and don't actually do the projects, which is interesting. I have a community of people that we brought together too with the Primal Cuts Club, and
Mhm.
that's really where I get to, like, go deep with people, and we have like live calls where I can actually talk to them. So
Yeah.
that has been really cool too, where I'm no longer like making stuff for YouTube. I'm making stuff for an individual member. I'm making videos for Mark or Steve, and
Yeah.
we can actually do things that are really helpful to an individual, which is a
Mhm.
completely different thing than trying to put things on YouTube, which you're trying to go a little bit broader. So, I mean, the internet is crazy because you can reach so many people in so many different ways, and each one is like, this is a lot of fun. This is a lot of, it's great. I really enjoy what I do,
That's
just
cool.
because you can help people in a very tangible way.
Hmm. No, absolutely, man. And
Love it.
making it more approachable is such a huge thing. That's such a huge thing because people
There's
just don't
there's a huge there's a huge
negativity out there.
reward for people that are passionate about like you or like myself. Like I want to teach people how to do things. I'm not the gatekeeper of like, no, I learned this my way. You got to go learn it your way, kind of thing. Like, knowledge is power, right? And
Mm,
to see the light in somebody's eyes, like they actually are like into it, like, oh shit, I want to learn that. That's cool. Yeah, oh yes.
absolutely.
That like makes it so worthwhile to me that the years of being in the kitchen and working your 78-hour work weeks for however long, it's like the little things like that is like when some kid comes in fresh out of culinary school and you show them something that blows
Yeah.
their mind. It's like, oh, here we go. That's why we're doing this.
Well, they
Yeah.
think it's like people think it's magic because again, just like me, I have no musical talent at all, right? But my son is very talented on the piano. He's a very very talented piano player, and I'll watch him play the piano. I'm like, how do you do that? It was the same way that people look at any skill that you have proficiency at, and they think it's magic.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And teaching people like that is just so much fun, and I'm glad that my like experience and stuff like that has been is helpful for someone.
Yeah.
Totally. Love it.
No, man. I love it. I love it, dude. I love the passion. That's really, it just helps to have these meat conversations because I mean, there's so many people out there that haven't heard this or don't know where the meat comes from or don't know what a chuck roll is and have no idea what a zabuton is or Denver and they don't know how to pull it out and like you can teach them how to do that for 4.99 a pound and like, it could totally like
Crazy.
change their life. It could like feed their family for so much cheaper, and with you generally a good product. So yeah, I think that means a lot. Getting people to eat the right way is such a huge thing. And here's a good one. I wanted to ask you this. I've been saving this one. So if you're building the perfect meat box and you had $100 to spend, what cuts would you throw in there? Which 4 to 5, 6 cuts would be in your perfect Butcher Wizard meat box?
I'll say for $100.
Mhm.
So I would again, I hate to go back to the chuck, but we're gonna
No,
have to.
I'm right. I'm gonna write down my guesses right on the piece of paper right here and see how close I am.
I know we're gonna have to do a chuck box, just a chuck
Yeah,
box.
the
But
chuck
no,
box.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think filling it up with like I think what I would do is like fill it up with mostly like value cuts, like you're saying,
Mhm.
or just like ground beef, man. I a family of four, we cook with ground beef more than anything else. So being able to have that is tremendous. Um, some of these value cuts, like we're saying, the teres major, the flat irons, those are great. And then throwing in some specialty cuts, throwing in some whatever you like, tenderloins or New York strips or whatever, just to
Mhm.
kind of round it out. I know I've probably gone way over $100 already, but depending on how many people we're trying to feed. But I mean, like those, I think for me especially, I want stuff that I can cook on a Tuesday.
Mhm.
Like I
Yeah.
don't want to make
Mhm.
like steaks or beef just to be steak night on the weekends. I want to be able to have it on Tuesday for everybody and make, just simply grill stuff, simply sear things, simply smoke things. Like that's where I see the most value in it
I love it.
when talking about beef.
No, I love it. And it's funny, we talking about keeping it simple too. We just cooked a ton of Wagyu and just salt only. Chef Tyler, just salt only, no not even pepper. We're just like, we want to taste this meat.
Oh yeah.
you know? Like that was, dude, it was so good too. Oh my gosh. No, it's true though. But building that perfect meat box, the ground beef. I mean, so versatile, so versatile. I would probably throw in a tri-tip, even though it might get me a
You
little more
just took
expensive.
my hey, that's on my list. I'm
Yeah,
good.
yeah. Tri-tip Denver. I'd do if I could squeeze a New York in there. I also enjoy the New York a little bit more than the ribeye, I think. I think it's meatier, a little bit chewier. Maybe if I couldn't afford the New York, I might go for the picanha, because that's pretty close to the New York. But yeah, I mean Denver's gonna be in there every single time. Flat iron or chuck eye might even be in there. Every time I don't eat teres major a lot, but every time I do, I'm like, why am I not eating this? Like, this is so good. I don't
Yeah.
understand. Why do I
Do you
not? I
guys
don't. I never think to go there.
do you guys have like a chef store by you guys like
Oh
in
yeah.
Washington?
Yeah,
Okay.
we have it used to be called
Cash and
Cash
carry.
and Carry,
Yeah.
but now
Oh,
it's Chef Store or whatever.
so
We
yeah,
also
U.S.
have Restaurant Depot,
Yeah.
which is like a Home Depot on restaurant drugs. Um, Costco, of course.
Yep.
Because I
Yeah,
just got these. That's where I got my Terrace Majors. Was they come in a 15-pound bag, so you get 15, 16 of them in a bag.
that's Chef Store.
Yeah,
Oh, no kidding.
and that's the best place I've found to get. I just love those things. They
What are
are
those,
like,
IVP?
yeah, yeah, I believe so. And then I vacuum seal two of them in a pack, and then just pull them out as I need them, and they're so versatile. Like we actually used them last night. We made my son's starting to cook a little bit more. He made like a
Nice.
because you can braise them too. So like you can braise and shred them, which is very versatile.
Yum.
So he made like a ragu sauce, like a pasta sauce with it. It was awesome. But anyway,
Cool.
that's one of my favorite things. What was funny is I've been trying to like find a shoulder clod to take because it just kind of sits on top of the shoulder clod.
Mistakes.
And at the chef store, I've gotten shoulder cloths from them, and they've already. I don't know, and I'm sure it's way before the chef store. They're not actually breaking down the beef, but like they took they're taking the terrace majors off the top because like it used to be just like they were kind of sitting on there. You just go ahead and take them off, and yeah, they don't. I guess they're just putting them all in those taking them off and putting them in the bags now. Like selling them separately because we used them a lot in the hotel. That was when we used a lot. They would because you can dry heat cook them, you can moist heat cook them. They're just so versatile. So I don't know. It's just interesting.
I love that. I love that beefiness of the Terrace Major, man. What was it? What was one that we had? Was it F1 Cross or Full Blood? I think it was Full Blood.
The one last week?
Yeah,
Full
yeah,
blood.
yeah. It was Full Blood,
Full blood.
and
It looked like a freaking
Gotta
oh
tendon.
make, gotta make a pilgrimage up in to Washington. Then we gotta go hang out, man.
yeah, if
I need to
oh my
come for
gosh,
some
if
of these
you ever are,
barbecues.
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
if you ever are, please, please,
I've got a question for Brad.
Yeah.
yeah, let's go.
Being that we share a lot of things here. What was the hardest job you ever had to do in the restaurant world? In the kitchen?
Yeah, yeah. I would say the most physically hard was so right out of culinary school, I got a job at a five diamond hotel in Dallas called the Mansion on Turtle Creek, and it was the highest profile that I ever worked, and it was a nonstop onslaught. I was in banquets, so I was working 80 hours a week, and I was 22, so it didn't matter. But yeah, that was the hardest I ever worked, but it was the most fun because every day was completely different. A lot of pressure, but a lot of like, we got to do offsite caterings. I went to Jerry Jones's house. That was cool. Like it
Okay.
was just kind of these fun kind of opportunities that, again, I was just head down. I'm the lowest man on the totem pole. Like
You're
I'm
doing it.
below the totem pole. There's not even like I'm below the
Not
totem
yet.
pole. So I'm sitting there just doing whatever anyone tells me to do. But it was the hardest restaurant job that I ever had. But yeah, that would be it.
I have a follow-up question.
Yeah.
Was that job harder than being a stay-at-home dad?
I don't know because stay at home dad with little tiny kids. So when I had under four.
Oh,
We had three under four. I
oh
had
my God.
twins, so I did it the easy way. But that was really hard. That was probably the hardest job I ever had. I was say.
That is
Now
what
that
I
they're
wanted to hear. That is what I wanted to hear because I did it for 2 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is so hard.
now that they're older, now they're all like teenagers, and now it's much easier because they can pretty much take care of themselves. I just make sure they don't hurt themselves, or so that they're much easier now. So it's kind of hard, but
I like it.
yeah, when they're little, that's
Oh
Ooh,
man.
hard.
Three in a
So hard. So
oh,
hard.
that is the hardest thing I've ever heard. Gosh, man. Oh. Hey, I got a question for maybe both of you guys, because every time I get a skirt steak, if I buy a full skirt steak, um, it's always different, right? I mean, every processor does it differently. So we get them from all over the US, right? And so yeah, I'm always having trouble. I'm like, how much fat do I cut off? How much, do I rip off this silver skin? I just texted Tyler last week. I'm like, we got this skirt. Do I just rip it off? Do I use my knife? How do you guys go about cleaning a skirt steak? And when do you know a skirt steak is perfect to throw on the grill? Who wants to
Let
go?
me go. Okay.
Yeah, you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I think too, there's so much variation between animals. Like, I find that for any cut that it's just different almost every time. So it's hard to say without seeing it, but
Yeah.
I think you just you just trim it until it feels right. Like, again, people are going to be different too. Whether you leave a lot of fat on a steak or a piece of meat, or whether you trim it all off. So
Yeah.
I think it's hard. Like I said, it's hard to verbalize, but like, I think you're going to know when you get there. I'd love to hear your explanation though.
Well, my explanation is a little bit different because it's very personal. It's not for everybody. But when I peel a skirt steak, I try to peel it without taking any of the fat off as much as possible. I just get the silver skin on, and I almost leave all that fat on there because I'm so glutton. But like making like super good carne asada or something with the fat, because the fat that sits under that silver skin is what I like to call the bubblegum fat. It's still like squishy and chewy and like it's gonna melt. It's not that hard. You got to take it to a certain temperature fat. So that's kind of where I sit with it. I love the fat on a skirt steak. I love skirt steak, period. So good.
Yeah, it's more so I think like when a normal person gets one, sometimes they're like, what is the silver skin and what is the fat? Like when you're
Right.
looking at, you should know, but like you guys know obviously because you guys are pros. But like for a normal person, sometimes it's like, should I take that off? I don't know. That's the hardest part, man.
Right.
For me when I look at it.
I think too,
Yeah.
like, if you err to the side of more fat on there, like, I think you're not going to go wrong, because again, at the end of the day, after you cook it, you can always, kind of fix it, scrape it, whatever.
You don't have to eat that fat if you don't want to.
Exactly. And so I guess it just depends on your preferences.
Yeah.
Because I'll get
Yeah.
people, like, when I trim a ribeye, I trim it like I would trim it at a butcher shop, where you're trying to make it look all nice and round and beautiful, right? And they'll be like, "Why'd you trim off so much fat? That's the good part." All this stuff. It's like, well, yeah, I trim stuff like I did to put in a butcher case. So, it's, you get to choose. That's the
Yeah.
best part. You get to choose.
True that. You get to choose. Yep. You got to practice. You just got to just get in there and do it a couple times.
Franchise player. We in here talking about practice?
Practice. So Brad, if you could choose, I know we are the Wagyu guys, but what would be a great steak that you have had conventional beef that you think you'd enjoy Wagyu? What do you think would be your pick?
You know what? Because I have done I've done the A5 Wagyu ribeyes and that kind of thing. But for me, I think I would go more to those cuts that are like not so fatty already. Like we're talking about some of those different. I would. That's why you guys are talking about different cuts off the round and different things like that. I would love to try those, because it's like, I find that Wagyu beef is that A5 Wagyu is really tough to eat. That's why in the restaurant they give you like a 2-ounce portion. Like it's so some of those different cuts, like the teres major, like we've been talking about, these chuck cuts, these different the picanhas, different things like that already are a little leaner, maybe would be a great thing to try Wagyu.
Sure.
Totally. Yeah.
Try to.
And We always got to
Or
clarify
tried to.
when Tyler and I speak Wagyu, we're usually talking about American Wagyu, full blood, F1 cross. We like A5, but I would rather, like the American consumer, we want to eat steaks, like we don't want to have 2 ounces of A5 and feel like that's great. Like I want to eat my 10 to 12 to 14 ounce steak and I want it to be super prime and marbled
Yep.
like crazy, but not overly crazy where I can't finish it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What did we forget? Did we forget anything to cover about butchery here and really getting the most value out of the beef? What's one extra thing maybe you can think of that we forgot to kind of go over?
Yeah, I don't know how much we forgot. Like we kind of got to all the dry heat cooking, but again, I know we're going into summer, so that's kind of where everybody's brain is at to throw it on the
Yeah.
grill. But also, not to forget all of those moist heat cooking methods: the braising, the shanks, the crosscut shanks, the short ribs, different stuff like that. And I know, like I said, we're getting out of the season a little bit, but still, those things are the braise is still like my favorite way to cook any piece. Like I love a braised dish. Anything on a bone that's braised, I'm all the way there. So
Who is this guy?
You guys are exactly the same. Funny, man.
I was just gonna say, I'll eat braised short ribs 364 days a year.
there you go. Yeah, it's some of these things when they're shreddable, pull apart, soft. Like that's still for me
The best.
excellent way to enjoy beef. I think the biggest thing is like there are so many versatile cuts. There's everything you can think of on the beef already. It's like you just got to know which cut to do which thing with to make it sing, and you're on your way. It's so versatile.
And they can find that in your book, right? Like they can find each cut and you have recipes in your book from the different primals and everything like that, right?
Yeah, so the cookbook's called Primal Cuts. Each chapter is a different primal cut, which we show you how to break it down, and then also recipes to use each of those pieces of meat. And I kind of went a little, tried to go the gamut. So we have everything from braised dishes to how to grill a steak to I put ribeye on. I made a ribeye pizza. I just kind of thought of maybe like some crazy things. I got a couple of salads in there. I know it's kind of not too many vegetables for the steak crowd, but there's a couple of things in there.
Yeah.
Again, just try to think of everything you can do with all the different kinds of meat, cuts of meat, and how versatile they are.
That's so helpful, man. That's so helpful for the ranchers, for the beef industry in general, and it's funny because like when I was talking to you the first time, I was like, you're doing everything that we do, but we do it in Wagyu. Like, because we are like cooking up all these different cuts from all over the U.S. and showing people how to cook them, smoke, sear, grill, braise, and then we're coming up with recipes for the ranchers on their beef. Like how should you cook a tri-tip that was a full blood Wagyu that was raised in Texas, and then what are some good recipes for that tri-tip? Because it's going to be different than the F1 cross that was raised in Tennessee. So like we're kind of like trying to do that and making it more approachable, just like you are with the entire beef, going through that all the primals, showing them how to break it down and how to cook it. So that's crazy, man. I love what you do, man. We're new buddies. This is
I
awesome.
know. I'm so glad that we got connected because
Me
it's
too, dude. Dude.
again, we're simpatico, man. We're the same. So it's fun.
I know. It's the beef industry, man. It needs more positive people out there showing people how to cook it and everything and not being scared of it. Cause I think, yeah, man, I mean, even for me, like I love meat. I grill a ton of meat, but sometimes I'll look at a piece and be like, wait, what is that? How do I do this? How do that? I mean, I'll get intimidated and we've been doing this for a while. So,
And I get a phone call.
Huh?
And then I get a phone call.
Yep. And then I gotta be like, yeah,
No, we
dude,
can't
Tyler.
really just call Tyler.
Who is this?
I
Who is
know.
this thing?
I
Tyler's
know,
going to
man.
give his phone number out so everyone can call him, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
please. Yeah.
Put it in the show notes. Just shoot him a
Yeah.
text. We'll tell you how to cook anything Wagyu. Man. Well,
No,
hey, Pat,
it's
how do people find you? How do people get in touch with you and find you?
Yeah, so I'm Butcher Wizard on pretty much every social. Um, again, so that's a great way. Instagram DMs are great if they want to connect with me, directly. We have the Primal Cuts Club, which is my members only community. Then we have the cookbook, Primal Cuts, so they can get that on Amazon. So again, I'm pretty much everywhere in every different medium. If somebody wants to connect, I'm there. So
I love it.
you can
Following.
definitely. All right,
Nice.
There you go.
man. I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Well, dang, Brad, man, thank you so much for your time today, man. This has been so much fun, and teaching people all about these different cuts, how to break them down, man. Please go watch Butcher Wizard on YouTube. It's such a great channel, and you're so approachable and likable, and you're showing. I love how you show people like, hey, instead of buying this for $20.99, you can buy this whole thing for $4.99 and break it down yourself. I think that is so valuable, and the way you do it, it really shows people that it isn't that hard. And like you said, if you could just get a big cutting board and a couple of knives, then you can save yourself a lot of money and do it and have fun. And I think that's really cool. You've inspired me. Tyler does 99.9% of the butchery here, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should just get in there and get that chuck roll and break it down, man. Because
start with a strip. Start with a ribeye. Start with a strip. Start with something. It's easy. It's just like a slice down. That's the easiest way to start. Get your confidence up, and then break into some of the other ones.
I love it, dude.
I'm not gonna let that happen. I'm not gonna let that happen. We're going straight into the chuck roll.
Oh, we're going all the way deep.
We're down, yeah, we're gonna do. We gotta make a video, man. Like, teaching me how to butcher the chuck roll, man. That'd be great. Well, Brad, I'd love it, man. Please stay in touch. And yeah, if you are up here in Seattle, man, we'd love to host you and do some stuff. And me and Tyler will be traveling around a little bit too. We got a lot of Wagyu farms that we got to visit all over the U.S. We're gonna be down in Oklahoma City in September for the American Wagyu Association convention, where Tyler's cooking up all of the final steaks, and we're hosting the best steak in America, best Wagyu steak in America. So that'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, we'll be jumping
help
around
me if you want.
Hey, I'm actually from Oklahoma City originally.
We might reach out then. I might need some resources.
Yeah, that's where I taught culinary school. So if you need maybe you need some dishwashers or something, maybe I can.
Nice.
You know what? We got to reach out.
Treat a lot of kids who would like to help.
Oh yeah, get some free Wagyu strips, man. It'll be good. Well, thanks again, man. And yeah, we'll put where everybody can find you, Butcher Wizard, and in your book, we'll take that in the show notes and everything, and make sure that people can get in touch with you. Because if you want to learn how to butcher, please follow this guy. He's been a lot of fun. Thank you again, Brad. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, dude. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
All right, man. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, man.
Good day.
Bye, later.